I, there we go. Um, I wish I had like a really cool intro for the show. Then I could just do it every time, and I would know exactly how to start the show off. But I don't.
Moon Unscathed.
Right. I just need like a really cool. I need a cool theme song and like a
Mhm.
video and like a whole thing. Maybe I'll work on that. That's cool. I'll figure it out. Either way it goes. I'm Dewan L. Hearn, more affectionately known as the Moon, and this is the Moon Unscathed. And I have the utmost pleasure of interviewing a dear friend of mine now. Like in the last few years, we've become pretty cool friends. Barbara V. Evers.
Uh-huh.
It's Evers, ladies and
It's
gentlemen.
Evers.
You think it's Evers. You might think Evers. It's not.
It's Evers.
It's one of the things like you said when I was asked, because I did ask because I checked. It was like, what does EVER spell? And it's ever. But what does EVE spell? Eve. So
Yeah.
I can see it with
Yeah.
the logic either
And
way.
it's not the first time that's, people have gone, so.
Right. Do you think I've been Dewan to everyone who said my name for the first time? Absolutely not.
Oh, really?
Oh, it's fun. Autocorrect loves to correct my name to Dean.
Ah.
And most people, if they're just reading it off a sheet, I'm Dawn, which is really interesting because naturally you just invert the middle letters. So I've been Dawn a lot. So then a lot of times I've been misgendered.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like, can I speak with Miss Dawn? I'm like, it's Mr. Dewan. Thank you. I am so sorry. I'm like, it's cool. It's fine. What you need.
Oh my goodness.
It's fine. It happens, but that's names. At least your first name was Barbara. Most people get that right.
No, they don't.
God, Bob, damn it.
They don't.
How do you screw up Barbara?
Well, if they're like Starbucks is really bad.
They're bad.
They're bad anyway. But I've met people who have called me Brenda, Deborah, Margaret.
All right, you got to pause on this one. How did you get Margaret from Barbara?
They're not really listening. All you got is the R sound in there. But I've gotten Margaret.
Wow.
Beverly. Because they take both names and smoosh them together.
You know what? I can see that one.
Yeah.
I can see that one. If it's like B. Evers, I know someone whose last name is Everly. So like I'm not like that can.
I have a grandchild named Everly. So there you go. But
yeah, that one checks
literally the people who have called me Beverly know both the names. The other thing is I found certain people will shorten it. I don't like Barb.
I've never heard anyone call you Barb.
There are people who will. I do not like it. And the first chance I feel comfortable with them, I'll tell them, please don't. Yeah. And my mother was Babs. I am not Babs.
I forget that that's a nickname for Barbara.
Mm-hmm. My mother was Barbara, but she went by Babs. So I prefer not to be called Babs, although I have been called that. Now, I do have my grandchildren call me Babby.
Okay, yeah, you can get away with that.
And that's a nickname for Barbara also. So that became my grandma name.
See, the only Babs I ever really know is Babs Bunny from Tiny Toons.
Okay.
Which is not an insult. I loved Babs Bunny. She was great. She was sassy. It was Babs and Buster Bunny, no relation. And it was great. So, like I said in my last episode of The Moon Unscathed, I try to get behind the label of the person I'm interviewing because this is what this show is ultimately for. It's for people to talk and just get to know the human side of humans. You know what I mean? So, but before we get into that, let's do like a little intro. Like to introduce yourself to the people.
Okay. So I'm Barbara Evers. As an author, I use the middle initial V, which is for actually my maiden name, which was Vogel. It's kind of a salute also to my parents, just to kind of keep it in there. And also there's a Barbara Evers that's an academic that publishes. And so I felt like I needed the V to separate me.
I'm sure she appreciates that.
Yeah. She's in California. Occasionally I actually get her email. It's weird. It's really weird. I've gotten email from a few Barbara Evers that were not me. It's kind of interesting. But I write primarily fantasy. I have an
Mhm.
epic fantasy trilogy, The Watchers of Mania. I
Benaya.
also, pardon?
Benaya. I was practicing.
Mania. There we go. I also write short stories, and I'm starting to get restarted on a book for writers that's more about revising and editing.
Hmm.
Um, and I've written blogs over the years, things along those lines. I've done all sorts of stuff. In my career, I was a corporate trainer, an instructional designer. So I've written a lot of training materials, over 3,000 hours worth of training materials. And actually, I've worn a lot of hats. I started out my career selling Princess House crystal in home party sales.
I have no idea what that is.
Well, nobody
They're
does.
like this, like crystal, like dishes and trays.
Yeah, glasses and dishes and vases and the big champagne display thingies and whatever.
Yeah.
It was home party sales done kind of like Tupperware.
Yeah.
That was back in the 80s when home parties were a big thing.
That was the thing back there.
That was the thing. And I was a young mom, and I was, trying to work and stay at home and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
But I also have been, an insurance underwriter.
Okay.
I have been a job recruiter. I have worked in retail sales. I have
Because like
worked.
everyone should work
Yeah.
retail
I worked
for at
in
least
retail.
a year. At least a year.
I did it over Christmas, so 6 months. I did it. I worked for 6 months in retail, but I did the Christmas season, so I think that qualifies me. Back during the height of when people would go to the mall, and I worked in the mall. So I don't. Yeah. Let's see, what else have I done? I was in outside sales also for a company that did business forms and labels back before we had, laser printers and you could print anything off on your computer.
Yeah.
So I've done a bunch of stuff over the years. I have a bachelor's degree in zoology and a master's degree in communication. So you know what that means.
She talks about animals.
I can talk to animals.
Wow, there you go.
There you go.
She's the real Dr. Doolittle.
Yeah.
I guess Master Doolittle. She didn't get a doctorate. She got a master's degree. So it's Master Doolittle.
There you go.
The first time that I met you, sort of indirectly, because I think there's like our indirect meeting and then our direct meeting.
Right.
We're going to obviously talk about that. There's no way I can get away with that one.
No.
Which is funny because I just did an interview with Tommy B. Smith.
Oh, did you?
I did. So
and it's all his fault and your fault.
It is mostly my fault. It is mostly my fault.
Mostly.
I'm an instigator, but that's a little bit later on. The first time I met you indirectly, you were on a panel at Imaginarium discussing branding. And I remember you guys were talking about like little things like if you have like a branding color, you should be out in said color because that's all kind of part of your branding. And it's funny because I just did an interview with W.W. Mitchell, who slightly influenced by me as well, goes by Purple Wayne also. Oh, really? And I love it. He was wearing a purple blazer one year at Imaginarium, and Holly and someone else was doing Purple Rain karaoke. He's wearing a purple blazer. So I walked up to him and went, Purple Wayne, Purple Wayne. He cracks up. Go. It was great. And then he for a short period of time changed his handle on Instagram to Purple Wayne, Purple Wayne.
That's too funny.
Changed it back to normal, but he's like, now I think I'm going to kind of embrace the whole Purple Wayne thing and use that in my marketing. I'm like, well, why not? And it's actually something that I remember essentially learning from you amongst the rest of the panel. And as if we couldn't tell from the background you have, which makes your hair look lovely. Yeah. That was like a whole 10 minutes.
See all my hair here?
She has hair, I swear.
I swear.
Um, Giraffes has been kind of your brand. It's kind of the thing that I immediately associate with you. Where did that come from? What started the connection between Barbara and Giraffes?
So you want the connection between me and giraffes, not specifically the books.
We'll go into one and the other. We'll start with one and then go to the other.
Okay, so we'll just start with the connection to the giraffes because the giraffes came along and the connection for that obviously precedes them showing up in the books.
Right.
So it's probably the number one question I get asked.
I assume.
Why giraffes? Why giraffes? Especially in fantasy, Barbara. Why giraffes? And the thing is, when I was 16, we were visiting my aunt and uncle who lived in Tacoma Park, Maryland, which is just outside of DC.
Okay.
And we were just up there doing summer vacation stuff. And one day we go to the zoo. Okay, so picture my aunt, my uncle, their children are all grown. So they're older than my mom and dad.
Gotcha.
You've got my brother who's 3.5 years older than me. I'm 16. And then you got my younger sister who's about 1.5 years younger than me. And we're walking around the zoo. Now at 16, I didn't want to be walking around the zoo with my mom and my dad and my brother and my sister and my aunt and my uncle. And back then you could wander off and people didn't worry too much about it.
Nah.
I just said, you know what? I'm going to go on ahead. Y'all catch up.
Yeah.
And so I did this. I think I was hoping I'd run across some cute guy at the zoo.
You know what? He might be dragged there with his family and do the same
You never know.
You never know.
You never know. And eventually I realized, you probably should wait. So I stopped and it's like early August. It's a hot, hot day. Lo and behold, there's a bench that has nobody sitting on it. Shocker. I sat down in front of the giraffe exhibit. And there was a giraffe that, having looked back at the photos I took of this giraffe since then, probably was an adolescent giraffe. So adolescent Barbara, adolescent giraffe. And we stared at each other. And it's kind of cool. If you ever go to a zoo and an animal actually focuses on you, that's unusual. It's pretty cool. And I
would just automatically assume that they're about to attack me. Like that's my natural instinct. It's like, he's next.
This is a giraffe. We don't really think of them as attacking that much.
It would be just my luck.
It could be.
He's got to reach me first.
Anyway, I don't know how long I sat there waiting on them because they were moseying along very slowly. And so it was probably a good 10 to 20 minutes. I don't know. But we never broke eye contact the whole time, me and the giraffe. I was hooked. I think it's the first time I saw a giraffe in person, too. I can't swear to that, but I think it was. And I just sat there and studied it. And then, over the years, I was interested in giraffes, but there wasn't a whole lot of stuff out there. As far as books go and everything, you couldn't find much. I dug and dug and dug trying to find information. Finally ran across at Clemson University, where I went to school, they had in the library one book about giraffes. And it was by Ann Innes Dagg, who is the person who kind of pioneered research on giraffes. And I checked it out. And it's like a field book about the ecology and whatever. I have a copy. Naturally. I bought a copy of it. And that was the only book for years and years, except for children's books, that you could find about giraffes. So, but over time, people began to notice them and everything. And people picked up on the fact that I kind of like giraffes and started giving me giraffe things. A lot of giraffe related things that I put on my table, my branding basically, when I'm at an event, are things that were given to me, gifts that were given to me, and they're giraffe themed. So that's where the giraffes came from. And over time, I learned that they were endangered. They actually are suffering what they call a silent extinction, which means they don't get the publicity like elephants and rhinos and all this other.
Yeah.
And so they call it a silent extinction. I discovered Giraffe Conservation Foundation, which is in Namibia, and I actually interviewed Stephanie Hennessy, who is the co-director of Giraffe Conservation Foundation. It's on my YouTube channel. But although her camera's not on because they were having storms in Namibia, and the only way we could do it was with her camera off, because
Right.
But I actually give 5% of my royalties to Giraffe Conservation Foundation now. So I've been very fascinated with them over the years, and I mean, if I didn't have this background, I could pull all sorts of giraffes over and show you, because I'm looking at 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, just in this little corner over there. And yeah, I didn't buy a single one.
No, of course not.
I didn't buy a single one.
So before I ask you which almost seems obvious at this point, why did you incorporate them into your series? I mean, it's kind of like they're your thing. I feel like this is a slightly more important question to ask. I'll tell you why I'm asking it. My nickname is Moon.
Yes.
And surprise, surprise, I have a lot of Moon stuff.
Amazing.
Shocker, right?
Right.
People buy me Moon things all the time. Moon blankets, Moon this, Moon that. And I do love the Moon. I do love all things I love the things that they got me. But it's like I like other things too, people. So my question to you is, what else do you like besides giraffes?
Animals.
Just in general?
Animals in general. I have a bachelor's degree in zoology.
Fair enough.
So animals. In fact, my next series of books will have wolves in it. So
now, I do love me some wolves.
Yeah, and a lot of people do. And so as I began developing that and trying to think about, okay, how do I tell people who I am and what I write? I started saying I write matriarchies and clever and unique animals.
Okay, yeah.
So, and like I have a short story collection out right now called The Nature of the Beast. And there are a variety of animals in there, including a very cute little squirrel. That's the whimsical story.
You should buy the book for the squirrel alone.
For the squirrel alone.
The other animals are cool and all. Buy the book for the squirrel.
There you go. And there's actually, there's bugs in there. There's spiders. I don't really like spiders, but I don't like snakes more. And there's actually a snake in there. There's shifters, dragons, wolves. There's all sorts of things in there. And then some of the beasts are actually human, because the question of that whole series of books is, who actually is the beast? Because not all beasts hide in the dark.
Yeah. Funny enough, that was also a conversation that we got into with Tommy B. Smith.
Oh, really?
Yeah. It's like sometimes
well, that makes sense with Tommy.
It does. And at the same time, it's like, who are the real monsters sometimes? We talk about how animals attack, or how you might perceive animals attacking, but I'm not in a silent extinction. There are reasons. What is the because we might as well talk about it, so that it's not so silent. What is the leading cause of this extinction with the giraffes? Is it environmental?
It's environmental hunting? Primarily. I think I'm trying to remember. There's several reasons, but environment tends to play a huge part, because of just the encroaching environment. As populations grow, and it's become harder for them, and they get like kind of secluded. One of the things I read, I do that giraffe trivia Tuesday sometimes on my social media. I haven't done it in a while. I got to kick that one back up again occasionally. But one of the more recent questions I ran across research where they discovered giraffes will only walk a certain level of an incline, and if it's more of an incline, they won't go up it. So that limited them from getting out of certain areas. You've got, power lines and fencing. Of course, they often knock down the fencing or whatever. But then there's also the typical, prey situation. Lions, they like them some giraffe. Of course,
I mean, yeah.
Giraffes. I said giraffes aren't really that dangerous, but they really can be.
I have seen a giraffe neck the hell out of an animal.
Their hoof is the worst part. They can kick and crush a lion's skull.
That's badass.
Yeah. And they
I
typically
didn't realize
do
how
it.
badass giraffes were.
Yeah. So they tend to be more calm, and they fight back if they have to.
Naturally.
So if the lions are after them, they're going to fight back. If the lion's after the baby, the little calf giraffe, they're going to fight back. Those flailing, they look flailing possibly, but they're not. A direct kick from a giraffe has some serious power behind it because their hoof is the size of a dinner plate.
Oh, yeah. Y'all can keep that. I'm not trying to fight a giraffe.
Yeah.
I'm not trying to fight a giraffe anyway.
Yeah. Like, who wants to fight a giraffe?
No, I'm not me. No. When you're born taller than me, I can't mess with that. No. I'm only 5'10". Like, if you're born 6 foot, I can't mess with that.
It's crazy. You see these pictures of people who are adults next to a baby giraffe, and the giraffe's taller than them. And a lot of people just don't grasp it. So, like, the local zoo here has giraffes, and they have a earth cam. They have an earth cam that you can look inside the giraffe barn, or you can see them out in the yard if it's during the day when they're out. And I will sometimes take screenshots on like my iPad if I can get a good angle where it's not showing the face of the person, just to show people, say, all right, you see that guy? You see that guy? Now here's the picture with the giraffe there instead of the guy. Notice that the giraffe's knees are higher than his head.
That's funny. Like, it's weird. Just giraffes have always fascinated me because I always heard about how they were born, where like the mom is just kind of chilling and then the baby just drops and then just gets up. And that always threw me off when like an animal just is born. It's like literally seconds old and just gets up and starts walking. It took me like 10 months to learn how to walk.
Yeah, well, it's survival.
It's wild.
Absolute survival. It can take them, they need to walk soon. Now, those in captivity, I've watched some of them, it take like 30 minutes to get up, but they're not really in the environment that is
Would be
normal.
dangerous.
But it's survival because they are prime mealtime for lions and hyenas and all sorts of other animals out there.
Yeah, all of the Lion King, basically.
Yeah.
So it's kind of goes in the course of this conversation already, and just the way, the energy you have when you're discussing giraffes, it kind of makes it obvious that that's the animal that would take place in your series. So tell us a little bit about your series.
Okay, so the Watchers of Manaya, the quick drill on it is you have a warrior princess, a dying queen, a shocking deathbed decree, a traitor returned from the dead, and telepathic giraffes.
Telepathic giraffes is the part I was waiting for you to get to, because I don't read fantasy, right? Mm-hmm. But how do you ignore, like, I'm always stuck on telepathic giraffe, and I'm just like, how did you get to telepathic giraffe? Because of all things that I could think of a giraffe doing, being telepathic was not one of them. It was not on my bingo card for giraffes.
Okay, so I'm actually not that crazy. First of all, I'm going to set the groundwork, and then I'm going to tell you something that science actually thought about giraffes for a little while.
I'm all ears.
All right. So it's The Watchers of Manaya is the first book. The Watchers in Exile is the second book. The Watchers at War is the third book. The Watchers are female warriors who have been gifted with enhanced sight. Mm-hmm. They also have incredible aim. They have dreams of prophecy and actual visions of prophecy. They don't even have to be asleep. They also are really good readers of body language, or reading the landscape and determining where danger is coming from, because they have this enhanced sight. Well, where did that come from? Well, giraffes have enhanced sight.
Okay.
They
Say
have
more.
very good eyesight, very good eyesight. So I was like, okay, let's take that. We've got warriors who have this enhanced sight. By the way, I mentioned corporate training, learning styles, visual, auditory, kinesthetic. So
Mhm.
visual learners sight. So what I did with the Watchers of Manaya is I took that sight, that visual learning style, and I said, well, let's play with this because I already knew that stuff. By the way, I'm not a visual learner. And I'm also blind as a bat, just so you know.
I mean,
I
I'm
wear
wearing
contact
glasses.
lenses, and my eyesight is like minus 20, 20 minus 1300 or something
Oh
weird like
wow.
this. It's horrible, absolutely horrible. But so I was doing that, and I added a little bit of other elements, like they're very tall. Okay, not tall like a giraffe, but tall for women
Yeah.
and
But I
physically
think
fit.
we have like an average height for women in America for like what 5'4" something.
I think so. Think along the lines of Amazon height. You
Yeah,
know,
so you're talking like 6 foot, 6'1".
somewhere in that vicinity, right around the 6 foot mark, somewhere in that area.
Short basketball player.
Yeah.
Because even like a short basketball player is like 6'1", which is
Okay.
actually funny enough wrestler height about 6'1", 6'2", 6'3".
Is it really? I didn't know that.
Yeah, it's always funny because this is means absolutely nothing to nothing, but in professional wrestling, because everything comes back to wrestling, you have wrestlers that are typically about 6'2", 6'3", 6'4", and they look tall because they purposely hire short referees.
Kind of like what they did with Arnold Schwarzenegger in Kindergarten Cop.
So they make you look taller and bigger based on perspective.
Yeah,
And so if you're around shorter people, you look taller.
right. Because there's a lot of actors out there who aren't very tall, and they look taller than they are in the movies because what they put around them.
Yeah.
So
all those things happen, and then you have like when wrestlers are face to face, you don't really get that perception because
Right.
we're all roughly about the same height as each other. So perspective, they're all about the same. But then when you see them in person, you're like, okay, all right. I thought I was going to mess with you. I'm not. All right.
It's kind of like in the movies where they go,
yeah, it's
oh,
like
okay.
me. It's like me, newborn giraffe, professional wrestler, basketball player. Like that's the scale right there.
Oh my goodness. But anyway, so I took that and I enhanced. And then I got to thinking, I don't remember how the giraffes ended up in the books, to be honest with you. I don't remember. I just know they were in there very early. And initially, I actually called them the Giraffe Watchers because they emulated giraffes. But then, the Men Who Stare at Goats came out, and people are like, I don't know. So I was like, well, let's just go with the Watchers, So
Yeah,
so I just went with the Watchers, which I like a lot better, to be honest with you.
agreed.
It sounds more fantastical, and it doesn't. The Giraffe Watchers does sound kind of weird.
Well, when you don't specify what they're watching, it
Right.
asks the question, well, what are they watching?
Right.
And that makes a person like, okay, well, what are they watching?
Which is not how I meant it either. So I was like, yeah, that's a miss. And that's when you're writing, you have these things. So you're like, okay, that didn't come off the way I wanted it to. I have to sidebar. Before these were ever published, I've been in a writing group with South Carolina Writers Association for years and years and years. And I was bringing it in for critique and everything. We're giving everybody feedback. And this one dear sweet lady thought my watchers were giraffes, that all my characters were giraffes. And I'm like, oh, bless her. No.
Was that just like a personal misunderstanding, or did you find that
it was very much a personal misunderstanding. She also doesn't read fantasy. It's a multi-genre group.
Yeah.
And she was, we'll just say she was much older. And it was this kind of, and at the time I started coming to that group, pretty much I was it for the fantasy writers. There was one guy who wrote science fiction, and I wrote fantasy, and the rest of them wrote either mystery or thriller or contemporary fiction.
Yeah.
And I had already learned how to kind of filter through what I needed to hear and what I didn't need to hear from people who didn't know the genre as well.
Yeah.
I got a lot from them. And ironically, that same group now has a lot of fantasy writers in it.
See, you just paving the way.
I was paving the way. That's right.
Just opening the door for it.
Yeah, just come along. Come on in. But anyway, so that's kind of what happened. But what I told you about the science, for a long time, they didn't know how giraffes communicated, but they knew they communicated.
Yeah.
And the science community for a while decided, well, maybe it's a telepathic communication.
It's the two little horn things on the top. That's what
They're called ossicones.
Say it again.
Ossicones.
Ossicones.
Ossicones. Right. So they weren't sure. Now we know now that they actually do have a vocal sound, but it is such a low decibel that we can't hear it.
That's wild.
Yeah. But there was a point where they were hypothesizing maybe it's a telepathic communication. Now, that said, the telepathic communication with the watchers and the giraffes is very specific. One, it's only for the royal family of Manaya. Each member of the royal family has a giraffe they're bonded to, and it's a visual telepathy. So they can see through each other's eyes.
Which is wild.
Mm-hmm.
See, I feel like I could really rock with like fantasy movies, because as a filmmaker, I can kind of picture in my head how I would like demonstrate that. But like, I sitting down and reading a book is hard for me anyway. But it's always fascinating to me. Like that works just conceptually, even as someone that doesn't read fantasy, that works. You know what I mean? Yeah. Like particularly because of the, as we, all know that giraffes are tall. The height of a giraffe is like, if you want to see in an area where you can't see around you, but the giraffe could, obviously you want to see through the eyes of the giraffe.
Right.
I mean, who wouldn't?
Right.
In that, particularly in any kind of situation where you might be in danger or in exile or at war, or whatever the situation may be, you'd always want to have that. And I love that even if it didn't come like intentional, it just worked so well.
It did. And you're right. Sometimes you don't really know where that idea came from. It just came, right?
It was given to you from a telepathic giraffe. It was just brought to you.
When I was 16 at the Washington Zoo.
That's why you would do. It's just like, I am going to give you a story. It's going to take time for your brain to like register it. But trust me, I am giving this gift to you. This is what is happening. It was just such a low decibel, you didn't pick it up right away.
There you go. Yeah, who knows what that giraffe was saying to me all that time? We could have been having a conversation, and I knew nothing
conversation. About it. It's just looking at you like, hey, kid, I am talking to you. Why are you talking? You're not listening to me. Why aren't you responding? Just like, because there's no giraffe scientist studying humans, so how else would the giraffe know? There's no paper for the giraffe to read. I'm just saying.
Yeah, there's no
makes
paper
sense to me. Makes sense to me.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I know how important it is to you, and I want to make sure that like I'm doing the best I can to present what is important to my interviewee. So I would like to hear more about the preservation organization that you work with.
Okay. So Giraffe Conservation Foundation was formed by Julie. I think his name's Julian. Their last name's Finnessy. I've spoken to Stephanie a couple of times, so her name comes to me quicker. I see her more often. I don't remember when they started it, but it's been a while. Basically, he was doing his doctorate and needed to do his special research. And he was down to, I'm going to go to Africa. I'm going to either study elephants or giraffes. And he realized a lot of people studied elephants. And I've already pointed out, there's not a whole lot out there about giraffes. Well, if there's not a lot out there about giraffes, then I can blaze the path and nobody can contradict what I'm saying.
There you go.
Yeah, he jokes about that in an interview I listened to somewhere. So if I got that wrong, Dr. Finnessy, I apologize.
It's fine. Anyway, you can send the correction to me. You know what? I got a little banner here. If she's completely wrong, send the correction to me.
And Moon will make sure I know because
Oh,
he will tell me.
I sure will.
Yeah.
You best believe.
But
Let
anyway,
me tell you what he said.
so anyway, he did this, he did his doctorate, and they began to realize that giraffe were possibly dwindling in numbers. And there's all sorts of different guesses as to how much the numbers of giraffes have died out in the last 50, 60 years, but we're talking huge percentages of the population just gone. And there are roughly, thanks to Giraffe Conservation Foundation, they also go by GCF, but thanks to them, there's roughly 117,000 giraffes in the wild now. When I started following them, the number was 111,000. Now, here's another thing that's interesting that they've done is they did research into the giraffe population, because you'll see, like, there's the reticulated giraffe, or you'll hear about the Maasai giraffe, or various giraffes. There are actually 4 distinct species of giraffes.
I did not know that. I thought
a lot of people don't.
Giraffes.
Up until a few years ago, they believed there was 1 giraffe species with 9 subspecies.
I thought it was
and
1.
So all the numbers went under 1 species. Now that 117,000, it's under 4 species. And some of them are very small in number, very small. So you've got the northern giraffe, the southern giraffe, the Maasai giraffe, and the reticulated giraffe. So, and their coats are different. Here's the most interesting thing that I learned from them. These 4 species are distinctly as different as a grizzly bear and a polar bear.
Like, so similar enough to both be called bears.
And exactly. That's about it. The other thing that I've learned from them over the years is for every giraffe in the wild, there are 4 elephants.
In the wild also?
Mm-hmm. So there's 4 times as many elephants as there are giraffes.
And there's not that many elephants in the world.
Mm-mm.
That's wild.
So, a lot of people just don't know about it. So I do the best I can to tell people about it. I do my royalties. If you buy my books, I could give them a little more.
That's it. That's where we're going with this.
Yeah, but it's really fascinating. They do a lot of stuff. For example, they do a lot of educational stuff. There are a large percentage of people in Africa who've never seen a giraffe. And you wouldn't think that, but it's true.
Wild.
It sounds wild, but they've never seen one. So they do a lot of educational programs with rangers. They do educational programs with school kids. They bring them out on field trips and things along those lines. Or if you go to Giraffe Conservation, I think it's giraffeconservation.org, there's all sorts of information you can find on, what's happening with giraffes, what they're doing. They have resources you can do for kids and education and things along those lines. And they translocate them. So they have started repopulating areas where the giraffe had disappeared. And they're taking giraffes sometimes from areas that maybe it's not the best place for them to be anymore. So let's move them. I would give anything, I think, to be there and watch that up close, but I think I'd also be terrified because they create blinds, these big, massive blinds, and they kind of chase them into the blind and then trap them off.
Yeah.
And then they get them in onto a truck and they transport them. And so it's interesting, to say the least, to watch. You can watch videos of them doing that.
I was writing this down. I want to make sure I want to look up the conservation website when I post this, and I'll have that in the description. So if by the time you're watching this, person at home, by the time you're watching it, the description should have a link in it for giraffe conservation. So just go ahead when you get done watching this incredible video, because trust me, it's about to get interesting. Like even more, because personally, I find these kind of things just fascinating. Like, I don't sit back and think about giraffes. So when I'm presented with an opportunity to learn about something I don't know about, I'm locked in. I'm locked in. And I did not know there were four species of giraffes. Like, that's just, I feel like it's a Jeopardy question that I'm bound to know now. And
Well, that's
I'm
very
prepared
cutting
for it.
edge. It's very recent. They discovered it several years ago, but it took it's I forget what the letters stand for. IUCN. They're the people who establish species and danger or whatever. I can't remember what it stands for, but they only recently acknowledged that information as being accurate, and it's based on DNA samples and coat and you know some of them they have you know spots all the way down to their ankles. Some of them they don't. There's so many different things. Even how many horns, which we mentioned were called ossicones. They can
That's the
have
bonus
actually,
question.
they can actually have up to, depending on the species, up to 5 ossicones. You can tell the difference between a male and a female by their ossicones too.
See, now she's going to mention, and we're going to talk about this next, her branding and marketing using giraffes, because that was always fun. So remember that ossicone is going to be a question. It's going to be one of her questions. I won't answer, but it's going to be one of those questions. And if you watched, the interview with, on the Moon Unscathed, and you'd already know the answer. You'd be in for a prize. So this is incentive. This is incentive. If you're watching this before that, now's the time to find her on Facebook so that you can follow her and then get ready for these games, because that's one of the fun things I remember when we would associate online, because you would do these Tuesday trivia games where you would just throw out a random giraffe trivia question. And I love trivia. I was mentioning Jeopardy. I love trivia. Do you know how easy it is to just turn to the next window, Google it, and then put the answer in?
I know.
You can, but don't. I never did. I've got enough of them wrong for you to know that I didn't.
A lot of people obviously did not. A lot did not, because, and I figured, how many people are going to look this up? I don't care, whatever. I'm trying to get people to find out about giraffes and learn about the books and things like that. But you would be amazed how many people didn't look it up. Sometimes it wasn't easy to find. Sometimes I'd choose something that you couldn't just, trip over. Right. But yeah. See, Giraffe Trivia Tuesday.
Because I just love to, it's like, I don't want to, that's cheating to me. You know what I mean? You can't just look it up. You can't just look stuff up while playing Jeopardy. You got to know it. We're trying to bring back just knowing stuff.
Exactly. Remember, and not only that, these days, you could look it up and it could be something made up by AI.
AI gets things wrong. Ladies and gentlemen, just so you know, AI gets things wrong a lot. A lot. You have to understand they're trained on information. Not all the information is right.
So, I mean, case in point, I one day, because I'd been talking to another author and he said, hey, tell me about this author. And he told him to tell him about himself, actually. And he said, there was things on there I'd never heard of. So I was like, okay, let's try this. Tell me about the Watchers of Manaya. According to the AI I asked, my main character's name is Kendall. No. It's Adana. There is no Kindle except for if you want to read it on your Kindle. And that's the only, I was sitting there going, where did it come up with Kindle?
That's great.
So it's amazing what they'll come up with, and they will make up facts. I mean, what was it about a year ago? One of the big newspapers had like the top 10 summer reads. Did you hear about this?
Oh yeah.
And like 8 of them weren't even real books.
Yeah, that's wild.
And it was a journalist who just had AI create the list for him, and they never vetted it to make sure it was actually real. And there were a bunch of books that didn't even exist on that list,
which is wild that it made it to the paper.
Yeah,
just do your research, people. And if you're going to put out, whether it's a news article or you're just doing what I do, and you're going to put like a blog on summer reads, you probably should just read the books like that. I feel like that's. Am I calling you out? I am.
Yeah.
I am. I am.
Just a little
if you're gonna do it, do it.
Mhm.
Just do. You know why I don't do like a reading blog? Do you want to know why? Do I know
Why?
why? Because I don't sit and read a lot. I don't read as much as I used to. I listen to a lot of audiobooks, but I
Mhm.
haven't listened to a lot of audiobooks in the last couple of years. So you know what I don't do?
Hmm.
I don't go around and be like, "Hey, you want to know a great book that I've read?" I didn't. I ain't got a lot to kick it. So like,
Yeah,
don't
there you go.
don't lie.
Well,
So I made second place in one of your trivia game seasons. I mean, not to brag. I'm just saying
there you go. Good for you.
I
Uh,
did. I
You
wasn't number
weren't
one. I wasn't
weren't
number
you
one. I was close.
yeah, weren't you the one, wasn't it the Back to the Future question that got you?
I was so mad about that. Do you know? Do you know? Okay, so ladies and gentlemen, here's what it is. The question was, in which Back to the Future movie does there an appearance of giraffes? One, two, three, or none of them? Right now, to tell you how many times I've watched Back to the Future, love Back to the Future. It's one of my favorite sci-fi movies. It's one of my favorite sci-fi franchises. It's one of my favorite franchises of any
Mm.
genre, and it's Back to the Future Part Two is one of my favorite movies.
Which is
Period.
ironic because that's most people's least favorite of the 3.
It's my absolute favorite.
Mhm.
I love time travel movies. I love these, and I love Leah Thompson. But that's not what this conversation is about. I still have a big crush on Leah Thompson to
That's
this
okay.
day. I digress. And the answer that I put in was none of them because
Mhm.
of course I know Back to the Future. I know that movie inside and out. And when she told this woman, when she told me I was wrong, oh, I was ready to fight. I'm over here looking at Facebook angry. And then I go back and I see that scene where she's wearing giraffes on the skirt, and I am so angry every time I see it.
It's
I
hilarious because, um, I'll be honest with you, I didn't notice it for years and years. Did not
I
notice it.
I didn't either until you said something.
And then I was watching it, and because this happens to be one of my favorite, you know, series of movies too. And I was like, "Oh, it's a poodle skirt." So those of you who know the 50s, the poodle skirts were the big skirts, and they called them poodle skirts because usually it was little poodles around the bottom, all the way around the skirt. But her skirt had giraffes. I actually Googled that and tried to find that skirt.
It's wild.
I couldn't find it in a way where I could get it. I did find it online, but I actually posted, I think I did it in the comments. I posted a picture of it from the movie to prove my point
I was
that
so
there actually were giraffes in the second movie of Back to the Future.
I am so mad. And I swear the last time I saw that movie, which was like maybe a couple months ago, every time I get to that scene, it's when gets her dress for the
Yes.
dance, right? She gets
Mhm.
her dress for the dance. She's walking down the street with her friend, and I think it's after Biff does something with his car. He sees Lorraine, and he goes over to Lorraine to harass her. Don't treat women that way, by the way.
Yeah, seriously.
Um, and when I saw it just in real time, I'm just like, Barbara.
I know something you don't.
And it's and I'm only mad because like I didn't notice it. And I'm just like, I was so confident
Mhm.
that there was no giraffes in this movie at all. There's no giraffes in Hill Valley. No, there were on the skirt. I was so mad.
That's why I put it in there. I love putting weird ones in there every now and then.
Mm. See, now I'm just frustrated again. And, but I love you though. It's okay.
That's
Now,
okay.
now you've recently retired from
Yes.
your corporate job, uh, and that's where you were doing the corporate.
I was doing corporate training. I actually was self-employed. I was in corporate training for companies for several years, but when companies lay off corporate, the training department's usually one of the first to get axed. And so I got tired of that happening. So
Right.
in 2001, I decided just to work on my own. And so I did contract training from that point on. And I had certain clients that would use me regularly. Rather than going out and trying to market myself to a bunch of people, I marketed myself to companies that did contract training on large scale.
Right.
And so I did that. Then I ended up getting a really sweet deal with the local tech school, because a lot of tech schools have continuing education where companies come in and they get like leadership training or something along those lines.
Right. Yeah.
And so I worked for one of the local tech schools for years and years and years and didn't have to do a lot of travel. Before that, I'd been doing travel and things along those lines. Got to see a lot of cool places, like, 3 all expense weeks paid at Tuscaloosa, Alabama.
How glorious is
Yeah. No, I mean, I
Alabama?
did get to go to New York and Phoenix and LA and Hollywood, Florida, and some neat places too, but it just depended on the client, on where
Naturally,
we
of
were
course.
going. But yeah, I did that up until last November. And my husband had retired in 2024. Yeah, 2024. And we're raising 2 grandchildren. So we don't have the freedom to really just go travel and do a bunch of stuff that we probably would have been doing the last 10 years.
Right.
And so I was like, I should probably retire. And then Bruce and I can do stuff during the day while our grandson's at school. Our granddaughter's off at college now. So,
Right.
but while he's at school, at least we can do this. And he's in marching band. So during marching band season, we'd have a lot longer because it'd be band practice after school and stuff like that. So we could do stuff. Of course, I won't go down this path too far, but I retired in November. He had a health issue that came up mid-November. He had multiple doctor's appointments, surgery, right the week before Christmas.
So a great way to spend your retirement.
And then I was going with him to all these doctor's appointments. I got sick. I got well. I got shingles mid-January, and mid-March finally got over the shingles. So yeah, that first 5 months of that's been really good.
Hooray retirement.
Yeah.
Because you could have been doing this while still working.
Yeah. So that's true. That is true.
So everyone I know that's ever retired has a hard time with retirement. Does that qualify as a hard time with retirement?
Well, I will say it seems like the medical appointments suddenly ramped up. But it's just things that you just don't expect that happen there. For me, no, because I got plenty of stuff I can do. I'm not the kind of person that sits around and does nothing. I'm not old granny sitting out there on the porch just rocking and watching the people go by. So, I've got the writing. I've got the conventions I go to. I've got local events I go to. We're still raising grandchildren, so we've got all that stuff going on. I think my husband's got a little bit more of because he's not a writer. He's not, so he doesn't have some of that stuff happening. But, he was a deputy for almost 40 years. And I think he's enjoying not having to deal with all that stuff.
Oh, I can imagine.
And to be honest with you, I was kind of relieved that he did. The whole entire time we were married, I never worried about him because he's a very level-headed, calm kind of man. Mm-hmm. Doesn't lose his cool. He, I remember when we were dating, he was telling me about pulling up to some bar fight somewhere. It was out in the parking lot, and he was trying to not have to arrest the girl, but then she jumped him, so he had to arrest her. So that's the kind of guy he was. He was trying to be, to be fair to people and everything like that. But the environment that has developed, I was glad he wasn't doing it anymore.
Yeah.
Because I didn't want him out there with who knew what was going to happen.
Yeah.
And so, and I think for him, I mean, he got where he was just doing extraditions anyway. So he was traveling a good bit. And I think he liked just sitting on the airplane and looking at his tablet.
I mean, I haven't been on a plane in a while, but I can see where that could just be fun.
Yeah. Of course, they'd have the prisoner between them. And you, by the way, y'all, you've probably been on a plane with a prisoner and didn't know it.
You've
Because
been on a plane with a lot of people that you didn't know.
no, I
You've probably
know.
been on there with a prisoner. You've probably been on there with a murderer. You've probably
Uh-huh.
been there with like all kinds of miscreants.
Yeah. Yeah.
Re-encountered that word recently. I'm just like, it's a great word.
Miscreant. Did
Such
that
a
come
great
from
word.
Tommy?
Actually, I think it.
Do I know the guy or what?
I think it. We were talking about something. I can't remember, but I think it was in that interview. I was like, that's such a great word.
It
I missed
is.
that word.
I
So
have to
yeah,
play that one.
you just did a bunch of like at least a couple of different events recently.
I
What kind of
did.
events are you doing, and how does that go for you?
I did SC Comic Con, which is the local Comic Con. I mean, I live in the dark corner of South Carolina. Actually, I'm on the 85 corridor between Charlotte and Atlanta. But Greenville is probably the biggest metro area of South Carolina. A lot of people don't realize that. And we have a Comic Con that's fairly large here. They have it in a big convention center. This was my second year doing it. It's exhausting. Absolutely exhausting. Because unlike at Imaginarium, where I could have a table where I'm selling my books, but I'm also going to workshops, I'm going to panels, and everybody else is too. So there's an ebb and flow of traffic. When you work something like a Comic Con, there's no ebb and flow.
It's just traffic.
It's just traffic. And it's usually on a concrete floor. So, and I brought my mat to, and taped it down so I'd have a mat to stand on. But I put it in front of the table because I tend to not want a table between. It's hard to hear people across the table. And I'd rather be able to, to talk with them and be friendly with them, whatever. And it's a lot easier to do it in front of the table. So I'd be standing out there unless a lot of people were in front of the table. I sometimes get pushed off my mat. But it went really well. I'm not going to do it next year that way. I shared a table with another author and we play off of each other really well. By the way, her name is Evelyn Puerto and her books are phenomenal. Our books really work well together. We play off of each other really well. But anyway, I'm part of a co-op of authors now called Crowded Shelf. And they have a traveling bookstore, basically, and they go to these events and sell the books. And so I can go and help them sell the books. Granted, I'm not just selling my books, and that's part of the thing you got to agree to. You got to sell whatever's on the bookshelf, not just your books. But I can go do that with them. One, I'm not trying to do it all by myself. Right. Two, I don't have to do the entire event. I can do parts of the event. Yeah. There's somebody, if I've got to run to the bathroom, if I want to go eat something, I didn't really eat a meal either day at Comic-Con. I took something, but I didn't really get a chance to eat much of it. Right. So it's an interesting thing, but it's a lot of fun too, because you never know who's going to come up. And like I have a box at the UPS store. And so I have my books shipped there as opposed to shipped to the house because we have porch thieves around here and all that kind of stuff. And plus the delivery drivers like to leave boxes on the steps out in the weather. So not a good idea for your books, Yeah. So the guys that work there, they know what's coming in when I bring it, and they're like, I was like, so are you going to come see me this time? You didn't come see me last year. And sure enough, one of the guys from the UPS store showed up. He was one of the first people showed up at my booth on Saturday at SC Comic Con. There was a lady that I ran into. There's a place called the Book Warehouse Outlet that's near here. It's in the upstate anyway. And last weekend of the month, they open up and it's like overruns of books. Oh, and it's this massive warehouse. And I'd been wanting to go, and I finally went. And I was kind of like, oh my gosh, this is mind-boggling. I didn't even get through half of it, and I was there 2 hours. Oh, wow. And so there was this one lady, we kept kind of say, let's switch places or let's make room, or whatever, because the aisles were small and narrow and everything. And so listening to her talk, I'd figured out she had lost her entire book inventory during Hurricane Helene.
Oh, no.
She admitted to me like $20,000 worth of books.
Oh, wow.
And so she was slowly rebuilding her books. And I said, so you like fantasy? Because we were in the fantasy area. And she goes, yeah. And I said, so if you're interested, I'm a fantasy author and I'll be at SC Comic Con in April. She goes, oh, I'm coming. So we talked a few minutes. I gave her a card and I said, just look for the dress. Sure enough, Saturday, I'm standing there and all of a sudden this woman's walking down the aisle because I was on an end cap. She's going, giraffes. And I'm looking at her going, she looks familiar. Who is that? And she bought all of my books. It was she stood there, she bought all of my books and all of Evelyn's books.
Wow.
And so if you get my newsletter, she's the one who's got the little bag on her shoulder. Because if you buy all 5, I call it the mother load, and you get swag. And that particular day, it was a tote bag. So,
right. Which
anyway.
is more people at conventions need to give out tote bags. Can I just throw that out there real quick?
Yeah.
At conventions, more people need to have notebooks and tote bags. I remember last year I was with Rebecca Cuthbert, and she was needing a notebook for something, and she was like, I'm at a writing convention. Surely someone here has notebooks at their booth. No one had notebooks at their booth. She was going around looking for notebooks. And I'm like, okay,
make a note.
Notebooks. Got it. And
I used to have them.
I thought about it. I have them designed, but then I was like, this is lame. It's not interesting to me. I wouldn't buy it if it wasn't mine. So I don't make them. And then I'm just like, when you're walking around, it won't show.
Yeah.
Not with the background. So then I was just like, I've seen a lot of times people just walk around carrying a bunch of stuff. My friend Kat, she will walk around with a handful of books. They're like, more tote bags. We need more tote bags. And just like, let me go ahead and get that bag real quick so I can. Buy your book too? Yeah, give me one of those. Might as well put it in the bag. I got a bag now. I can put it in the bag now.
Yeah. Well, and I'll tell you, what was really cool is Crowded Shelf, that co-op. They had a booth there. And what they do is if you are at an event selling your own books, they don't put your books in their thing, but they will send people to you.
That makes sense.
So they did. There was myself, Darren Kennedy, Stuart Jaffe, and Nancy Nunn. We were all there, and we're all Crowded Shelf members. So they did a little scavenger thing. You could get a free tote bag from Crowded Shelf if you came around and let us tell you about the books. Then we would stamp your card.
That's fair.
And once you had stamps from everybody, you went back to Crowded Shelf, and you could get a free tote bag. And that was brilliant of them, because I don't know how many of those people would have stopped at my booth otherwise. And the cool thing was, I was like, not only that, but I can tell you exactly where this person and this person and this person are, because they're within a block of me. They're close. So I would just sit there and go, okay, that end cap down there, that's where Darren and Stu are. All right, look down that aisle. That's Nancy down there. Now look up there, because sometimes we had them too. So sometimes they'd start at my booth.
Right.
Like, you see that big fin up there? Because they had Crowded Shelf has a big fin banner that sticks up in the air.
Oh, yeah.
Like a shark fin. And I'd say, that's where you're going to go to get your tote bag. And I mean, they said that they had quite a few people turn in a completed one. So I was like, bingo, that works.
So marketing's a fun thing, because you can do anything and it counts as marketing. You can put up a giraffe and that counts as marketing.
Right.
You can always wear the same designed clothes and that still counts as marketing. You can put little small chairs all around a convention hall and that counts as marketing. Side note, real quick. she's gonna fight me for mentioning this, but
No, no.
no, not you. My my best friend is my best friend, Catherine McHugh. She's the young girl who got the who won your contest in your workshop last year for like a 1 hour like conversation.
Oh, she was in the how to present and
Yeah.
okay.
She won your contest and she like lost the contact information and she's like, I feel so bad because she was going to like devote some time to talk to me and I just didn't, and so she feels really really bad about it. So I'm throwing this out here just so you know. She wanted you to know like she didn't like mean to come across disrespectful.
Well,
Or
it's
like,
okay because I was like, she might not be ready. Unless she quit and unsubscribed, she subscribes to the newsletter, so she should be able to just respond to the newsletter. But
Yeah.
you know, not everybody
you'll see her in July. I'll make sure she does. I'll make sure she doesn't hide.
The other day I was actually thinking about that. I was like, I wonder, you know, because when I did that, I was like, is this going to be a good prize? I think this is a good prize if they're ready.
Yeah.
You know, and so it's okay. It's okay. She could tell her we're good. She can still do it.
Yeah, she's just going to beat me up for mentioning it. Love you, Kit. But like I mentioned with the chairs, we have to, this was like the main event conversation. We had to wait for last. So I mentioned at the beginning of this interview that there was an indirect meeting between the two of us and a direct meeting between the two of us. Like I knew who you were, and I assumed you knew who I was because everyone does. And then came the day. Yes. Let me paint the picture, ladies and gentlemen. We're in a book reading, and I think I just told this story when I did the Tommy B. Smith interview. Mm-hmm. Picture, if you will. We're sitting in a room, and there's authors doing readings. You just take whatever you've got, and you read a part, sort of like just advertising yourself, but more or less, we're just sharing our work. Honestly, I enjoy doing the author reads because it gives me a chance to just go over and see how it comes across. Mm-hmm. Test audiences, if you will. And Tommy B. Smith, which by the time you get this, you're watching this, you can find the show I do, Soccer on the Moon, and you can just see my interview with Tommy B. Smith. So go on YouTube, find Soccer on the Moon, and watch that interview. And all the other ones, because I'm dope. And so
of course, yes.
And so Tommy's a horror author, and he's doing this reading. And it's really intense reading. There's a really intense scene. And at some point, he physically takes a chair and he throws it. Creates a big, loud bang, throws everybody else. If you were asleep, no, you weren't. And so it gets everyone's attention. It's very atmospheric. It really worked well for his reading. Mm-hmm. And of course,
can I just jump in here for a moment?
Absolutely.
I knew I was after him. I'm sitting back there reading over what I'm going to read. I wasn't even looking up. I was only half listening. And all of a sudden, bang, 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 bang. I was like, what? And you know what went through my mind? That chair is in the way of me getting up on that stage. He better move it.
Like a gentleman,
he did.
Of course, he picks the chair back up, places it where it belongs, and have a great day, everyone. And I'm thinking that was amazing. Because while I was paying attention, it was shocking. It was a shocking thing that I hadn't seen in an author reading yet, right? Mm-hmm. Then Barbara walks up, and she's just I'm like, how is Barbara going to top that? And she walks up, and she tells the most appropriate joke to tell in the moment. And she says, well, I'm not going to throw a chair. And I'm, of course, an instigator. I'm the harbinger of chaos. So I'm just like, do it. Do it. Throw it. And you're like, do you want to see me throw a chair? I'm like, yes. I'm not giving anyone else listen. There's other people who were like, no, we don't need you to do that. There's a lot of people. There was enough people in the room to do that. I wasn't giving them the opportunity. And I think they kind of realized that, like, if he keeps going, it might actually happen. But in my mind, I'm like, this is Barbara. Barbara's one that does the workshops on marketing and presenting. She's the corporate trainer. She's very proper in her presentation. there's no way I'm going to get her to throw a chair, but let me try. And so, with honestly not as much instigating as it probably should have taken, Barbara's like, okay, boom, throws a chair. Loved it. And of course, what stood out was like you can kind of see a horror author throwing something loud and making a big bang, but you wouldn't expect Barbara to do it. And that has been like this ongoing story since it happened.
Oh, I can't talk. I can't go on Star Chamber without Holly and Stephen talking about it. They like to talk about that and how the first year I went, back when they did the Books and Bourbon panel on Friday nights, that I got my first taste of bourbon ever on that panel.
That's so wild.
So they like to talk about that, and they like to talk about how I threw the chair, and Holly is so upset because she never saw it. And Stephen had my camera, but he wasn't expecting it, so there's no picture of it.
I had a camera, but I wasn't recording, and I was like so busy instigating that I wasn't recording it.
But it really was funny because he starts with the do it, and then it was like, throw the chair, throw the chair. And people who know me, they're like, of course she threw the chair. But people who don't know me and, haven't known me for years and years and years are like, nah, she's not going to do it. So it's become like this infamous thing.
It has.
And we've done little plays with it every year since then.
And what's even better was, my favorite was last year.
Yes.
When you have the workshop. Now, mind you, there are some issues with scheduling and things were getting redone on the scheduling. And I think that was the main reason why you made an announcement that, hey, my panel or my workshop is in this room and starting in like 5 minutes. I had nothing going on. So I'm like, you know what? I'm going to make sure that there is someone in this presentation. I'm going to make sure someone's in my friend's presentation. So I'm going to go sit in this presentation. I chill. I'm in the back. Other people come in. They realize where they were trying to go. I think there were signs missing from the doors. They were doing something new. And people were there. And so we're sitting here. We go through the presentation. And I'm just like, this is good. This is good information. That's cool. And then comes the slide that I'm in. And I'm just like, because of course I remember that. Yeah, because there's the part where you're talking about, basically marketing.
Oh, I did a contest with chairs.
Well, no, that was the year before. So this is like last year. Last year, there was as part of your presentation. One of the slides was about the chair incident. So there I am. Me and Tommy are just mentioned in this slide, and of course, I'm sitting in the back of the room. I'm just like, yeah, that's me. I did that. It was me.
Yeah. Well, see, I didn't involve you and Tommy last year, but I did do something with the chairs.
We did.
And I think that may have been the slide, because in my workshops, I would show a slide and say, look, if you see this chair, bring it to me. Yeah. Then you get an entry for a prize.
So we did the year prior, what we did, we took the chairs and we hid them around the convention. Right. And Sako, actually, my co-host on Sako the Moon, she's the one that won that one. Yeah. That's how she got a copy of the books, of all of our books, which is, again, we brought it up in the interview. But yeah, like last year, I was just in it. I'm just like, so people were just looking back. I'm like, yeah, I did that. That was, because she was like, here he is. He's right there. I'm like,
he's right there. Yeah. I'd forgotten about that. I was just thinking about, because we did the readings last year. You were in the room.
Yes.
And Karma was like, I didn't get to throw a chair. So all of a sudden, all of us were tipping chairs in that room. Remember?
Yes. So that was the reading that it was happening at the same time as the concert. So there was a reading over here, and then there was a concert over here.
Right.
And of course, my friends are doing the reading over here. And then my friend is on stage doing the concert over here.
Yeah.
So I'm actually going back and forth between the readings and the concert, because it was Morgan Hazelwood. She's like, hey, I'm reading at this time in this room. I'm like, yeah, I'll go. Sure. And then I saw the time. I'm like, all right, I'll pop in. It's cool. So I do the concert and I pop over, and then I go in the room. And of course, there's my friend Morgan. There's my friend Barbara. There's my friend Terry. There's my friend Carmen. I'm just like, well, I can't just not. All right, cool. So I'm like sitting back. I'm just going zoom, 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 back and forth between the two. And then by the time I come back to the room, they're like, "Hey, we've all thrown chairs."
Might as well throw one.
I did. I threw my first chair. So to the Holiday Inn Louisville East. If you happen to notice a lot of your chairs are dented, I am not directly responsible, but I'm also very sorry.
You started it.
I did.
We will never live it down.
I won't. I remember in my author, I had a reading, not last year, but the year before, and it was a thing. It was just like, well, it's part of the bit now. Knock it over. I'm like, I kind of have to now. It's like
you got to do something. Now, not last year, but the year before, when with the little chairs, I had one of the little chairs with me when I did my reading, and I threw it at Stephen. He wasn't prepared for that, but I was like, "Look, I'm throwing a chair," we're talking about little dollhouse sized chairs here. These were the ones we were hiding around the place.
Now, the fun part about this story, because as fun and silly as the moment is, one, it was a bonding moment between at least the two of us, and I'm very, very thankful for it.
I am too.
And on top of that, it shows how, and I think this is what you were kind of highlighting in your presentation, it shows how a single, like, little simple incident can turn into something that you can use as a marketing tool.
Exactly.
I won't say that all publicity is good publicity, but when there is something infamous that either you're involved in or connected with, why not?
Exactly.
And as much fun as writing is, and I think you can attest to this, as much fun as writing is, there is still a business to this. Mm-hmm. There is time taken to do the writing. There is sometimes money spent in the editing. There is money in the publishing, at least in the buying of the copies. There is
cover art and all that stuff.
Oh yeah, for proper cover art, not AI cover art, and proper editing, not just Grammarly.
Seriously,
I'm calling all you out.
Seriously,
I've got friends out there. They're like, ooh. I'm like, I don't care. I'm me. I can get away with it. It's fine. That's why this show is called The Moon Unscathed, because I can say it and walk away unscathed. That's where the name came from. It actually is. It's actually where the name came from. So I was in someone's comment section about some topic, and he's like, "You really think you can just come into a comment section and just walk out unscathed?" I'm like, "Yeah, actually, I do." And I realized, yeah, that's kind of how I walk around, kind of live my life. Like, it's fine. I'll do it. No one's going to stop me. It's cool. And so far, it's been working for like the last 30 years. I'm not really mad about it. So it's fine.
There you go.
It's cool. So yeah, now you know where the show name came from, ladies and gentlemen. But no, you can use these kind of things as marketing tools. Mm-hmm. So what have you found is like the best thing that you've used that promotes you and your work?
Well, when I'm at events, I have a newsletter sign-up sheet. Mm-hmm. And what I'll do, now you were in that workshop. And so if I'm doing a workshop, it's just the people in the workshop that if you sign up for the newsletter, I do the wheel of names at the end of the workshop and somebody wins a prize. Right. But when I'm at like a booth where I'm selling my books, I also have that thing. And it's somebody at this event who signs up for my newsletter this weekend is going to win a prize. If you sign up for my newsletter, you get an entry. And I get a lot of people on my newsletter that way. And what I find is those are my more loyal readers of the newsletter too, because they have met me, they've talked to me, as opposed to doing things like, there's Book Funnel and Story Origin where you'll see, here, this month there's paranormal, and you can go and all these people are like, you can get their free book and you got to sign up for their newsletter to do it. And I've done some of those and I do get subscribers, but they're not as loyal as subscribers who've actually met me. So that's one of the things I do. And what I find is the more I interact with people, the more likely they are to eventually buy the books. You may go and spend money to stay in a hotel and go to a conference and put out a table and not break even.
Yeah.
But that does not mean you're not succeeding.
Yeah, let's talk about
Because
that.
you're networking, for one thing.
Yes.
And I've had people, there's a woman who comes to Conjuration, which is a conference that's in November in Atlanta. She comes to it every year. I met her the first year I went. She talks to me. She comes to a lot of my panels. She comes to my workshops. The third year I was there, she bought my books. She talked to me all 3 years, bought them the third year. There's a woman who lives where I live, who comes to Imaginarium, and she buys the books from me at Imaginarium. She tracked me down last year. I did not have a table. I chose not to have one last year.
Yeah.
She tracked me down. I was in the vendor hall.
Yeah.
And she found me. And I said, well, I've got some on me. So
Oh, yeah. We always get those books on us.
Yeah. I've got some on me. So she bought it from me. She lives within probably 15, 20 minutes of me. So we go all the way to Kentucky for her to buy it. So what I find is connecting with people, for me, is what works the best. I'm not really great at like Facebook ads. I've never tried Amazon ads.
I've done any of that though.
But I find if I get my name out there and I talk to and meet people, that works best for me. I would love to say that I get a lot of, like, there are some authors, they've got such incredible ad programs going on and they sell tons of books.
Yeah.
I have a lot going on and I don't have time to spend on all that advertising. So I do it different ways.
Yeah.
But you got to do what works for you. You do what works for you. And the other thing that's really interesting is, the first book and the second book in the Watchers series won the Imagine Award for Best Fantasy Novel back-to-back years. The third book, thank you. This is what I tell people when they come up to my table and say, I tell them the little blurb, Warrior Princess, telepathic drafts. And then I put the book in their hand. By the way, if you're ever doing it at a table, you tell them about your book, you put the book in their hands and say, take a look. Feel free, open it up, read. Put it in their hands. Now, some people won't take it. Most people will. But you want it in their hands. And so I might continue, depending on the attention I'm getting at that point. I might say, yeah, the first book won, the Imagine Best Fantasy Novel Award. The next year, the second book won the same award. The third book came out the same year as the second book. So I obviously couldn't enter it against myself. So I don't have my triple crown, but it was a Palmetto Scribe finalist.
There you go.
So, and so I'll tell them these things. And the year I won for the first book, I did not have a table. I didn't have a sales. I had one book.
Right.
I came and I taught workshops and I got to know people and, I had books with me. Back then they would do a signing table where you could do like an hour.
Yeah.
So I sold a few books during that. People would come to my panels and my workshops, came and bought my books. But the day after the awards banquet, I came and sat in a workshop. It was a panel. I sat in a panel and somebody on the panel mentioned, hey, Barbara won Best Fantasy Novel last night. The girl sitting next to me, she said, you got your book? Yeah. How much is it? I sold my book right there as a participant, sitting in the audience of a panel. So I told a woman at a book warehouse outlet that I'm a fantasy author. And I said, come see me at SC Comic Con. And she came and bought all 5 of my books. Connect with people. That's how it works for me.
I think that's the secret for everybody. I get it. We're in an age now where talking to people is something we try to avoid as much as possible. I like to think of it like this: you can avoid people. That makes perfect sense. I like to avoid people also, but I don't like to avoid persons. And the distinction is people in like a big collective in a group. That's people, but like at Imaginarium, every time we talk about this particular convention, I always mention this one spot called the couch. It's called the couch because it's a couch. I know we're very creative as a bunch of writers, but it's the couch because it's a couch, and there has been more. I think more successful work comes out of the couch than half the panels that we attend. And the thing about the couch is it's not all people who write diverse characters. It's not all people who write fantasy. It's not all people who do film. It's people. It's a group of individual persons, and we're sitting there and we're snacking on our chicken tenders, or we're drinking our coffee, or whatever we're doing, and we're just hanging out and we're talking and we're just being ourselves amongst each other, and we're interacting. And I think so much more is that's why I tell people to go to conventions, why I tell people to do events, even if you're just going to hang out and chill. This year I'm going to like 3 or 4 different horror related events because I want to be present in the space that I work in. And you just meet people and you just talk to people, and you will get so much out of just talking to people. I think I sold a book just talking on a panel. Wasn't talking about my book. I was just talking. And then the dude, and the dude liked me.
People followed me back to my table when I've done a workshop or a panel.
Yeah. They just think that you're a cool person. And they're just like, all right, well, I got $20. Let me see your book. Let me go ahead and buy your book.
Because one of the things that's kind of interesting is when they talk to you, they get a feel for what you know.
Yeah.
And then you're not just this random person, hawking your book at a table. Yeah. All of a sudden, they have a feel for you. And so I know in a lot of these events, if it's the people I get to know who I'm more likely to buy from.
Oh, absolutely.
And so that, like a couple of years ago, I had a table that I thought was going to be in a horrible place at Imaginarium. It was a great spot, it turned out. And the woman who was 2 tables down from me ended up moving to the table next to me because the guy was supposed to be there. None of his stock came in, so he couldn't sell anything.
Right. Yeah.
And so she moved down because she was on the very end. And so she came and moved down close to me. So we were the last 2 tables before people got to like the elevator banks and all that. So it was really a good place. But I told her, I said, are you on any panels or workshops this year? And she said, no. And I said, that's what you need to do. Because they will get to know you there, and then they'll come back to your table.
Yeah.
And maybe they don't buy it from you this year, but they are more likely to buy from you in the future. And I've told, I don't know how many people that I've seen at these conferences, it's like, don't just sell, get on a panel, teach a workshop. Yeah. If you can't teach a workshop, get on a panel. They want to know who you are and find out you're somebody interesting to listen to. And then they're going to be more willing to buy something from you. And it's,
it's all facts.
It's fun for people to read our books. Sure, let's put it this way. I know I'm talking about selling my books. I'm not going to ever make a ton of money selling my books, okay? And most people aren't. Most people aren't. I do really well compared to most people out there. I mean, statistically, there are some traditionally published authors who never sell 60 books.
I think I've maybe made it to 80.
I've sold in the hundreds.
I made it to 80 books, probably.
Yeah, but the thing is, it's more about, I have this vision, this story, and I love it. And talking to people and people reading it, I haven't talked to you. I haven't told you this. I had a trick or treater in October, dressed like a watcher.
I did hear about that. You did tell me about that.
I might
Yeah,
have put it in the newsletter. It
might
was
have.
the coolest thing. It was the coolest thing. Here's this girl. She's 12 and she was really tall, which fits, watchers are tall.
Yeah.
They made her costume. She'd read the entire trilogy. And I'm like, I told her, I said, you have no idea what you have just done for me today. It just made my day.
Yeah, you
It made my
can't.
year.
How do you like to see someone not just okay to buy a book is great, and feel free to buy either one of our books, particularly hers. Um, but to read the book is to buy the book is one thing. To read the book is another. To enjoy the book, hopefully we did a good job and you can. That's more on us. That was more on us. But to embrace our book
Mm-hmm.
and then to embrace the book, the story, the character, and to embody it, literally embody the character. Like I can only imagine what that felt like.
It was so cool. And the funny thing was, when this little girl was 4, it was one of the first years my grandchildren were living with me. And at Halloween, all the kids kind of gathered. We live in a cul-de-sac. All the kids kind of gathered and we did a group picture of all these kids. And there was this cute little 4-year-old girl who she was a giraffe fairy. And I told her parents, I said, that is the cutest thing in the world. I love giraffes. Can I take a picture? And they said, yes. And I remember I said something on Facebook about, I had the cutest, trick-or-treater last night. She was dressed like a giraffe and a fairy. And people were like, show the picture. I said, no, this is a 4-year-old child. I don't have permission to share the picture. I'm not going to share the picture.
It's someone else's kid, guys. Calm down.
But it turns out I didn't even realize this is why you have to think. I didn't realize I told them I am writing a series of fantasy novels that have telepathic giraffes in them. They found the books when they came out on their own. And their daughter, now granted, the dad read well into the first book before he said, okay, yeah, you can read these. And my books are accessible. They're clean. I write my books. So if you are young and you like to read and you're in your early teens, you're probably okay. Avid readers in their early teens can handle it. They're not short books.
Right.
They weren't written to a young adult audience, but they definitely have crossed over to young adult. And that's always the exciting part to me, is when I have readers that age who are just loving the books. And then, of course, my number one fan is like 40 years old. And he has read each book multiple times. And he will tell me, he goes, Barbara, I know exactly, I figured out by the 3rd book when someone was about to die, just by the way you write. And I was like, really? He goes, yeah, you have a tell. He says, most people won't ever figure it out, but I read the books 7 times each. So it's like,
so did you know you had a tell?
No. Here's the funny thing is the big bad guy in the books, his name is Malagon. And I wrote the 1st book and the 2nd book. The 3rd book got written when a publisher said, I'll publish them, but I need the 3rd book written before I'll publish. I was like, okay. Like, I got to figure out who's going to handle him, who's taking care of Malagon, because we got to squash this guy. What are we going to do?
Actually, yeah.
I had no idea who was going to do it. No idea until like pages before the scene it happens.
That checks
like,
out.
Oh. My reader, my big fan, his name is Bo. He figured it out in the 2nd book. But when I wrote the 2nd book, I didn't know who was going to do it.
That's wild, right?
Which goes to show you that the writer's mind subconsciously does things that you just don't know.
We could do a whole 2nd episode on just the writer's mind.
Oh my God.
Because there's one thing that I know most authors will say, most writers will say, is I don't write the books my characters do. I just handle the pen. or something to that effect. And if you're not a writer and you're not a creative, that makes no sense to you.
It makes no sense till it happens to you. So,
It's one of those things like it makes perfect sense to me.
I have a scene in that second book that I'm writing going, are you kidding me? Really? Type. No. What are we? What? And I'm typing while I'm I'm arguing in my mind with what's happening. And I finished the scene and I'm like, well, I didn't see that coming.
Yeah. I don't think that the average person understands.
No.
Because I had a series that I was writing episodically and like just short story. And I had a plan.
Mm-hmm.
Episode like 1 and then 2 and then 3 would go this way and 4 would be like this. And then by the time I got to 3, I'm like, well, that wasn't what I wrote. That wasn't my plan.
Mm-hmm.
Got to 4, I'm like, well, this is the direction we're going now. And then we get to this particular scene in part 4 where the main character picks up his 2 friends who are like escaping a party where the police have just showed up, and the one friend is real quiet and she gets really like sort of scared, and she's quiet. It makes the vibe in the car is really weird, and she just drive. She goes home to her friend's house, and then by the next morning she's left. She left in the middle of the night. If you were to ask me after I wrote that, what happened to her? I'm like, I don't know. Well, why was she upset? I have no clue. What happened at the party? Why did the police show up at the party? I'm like, don't ask me. I don't know. Why would you think I know? Because you wrote it. And?
Well, and I had just recently done some podcasts with a person who it's called Indy Reads Aloud. Mm-hmm. And she interviews you for a little bit and then you read from one of your books. And so I have a podcast for each one of my books. And so in Nature of the Beast, when I did that, I was like, okay, I've got 10 minutes to read. There's probably a short story in here that I can do in that time frame. Right. So it's like, okay, which one do I want to do? Which one do I want to do? And so I picked one, and trying to remember what the story's called. I can't even think the name of the story, but the one I read, she was like, so how did that happen? I was like, she goes, there's more? No, that's the end of the story. That's the end of the story. She goes, well, it's like, she started asking questions that had never occurred to me to ask, because that was the end of the story.
Yeah.
And I have a general idea what happens to this person in the story happens, but I never explain it. Because I want you to think about it too and decide, okay, if it's this, then that means that's going to happen over here to this person over here, but we're never, so.
Right. And we do that on purpose. Writers do that on purpose. Mm-hmm. That's not a cop-out. It's like, well, they couldn't think of it. No, it's usually intentional.
Yeah.
Or we're all surprised because the character wrote it and we were just all present for it.
Mm-hmm. So did you see the short story newsletter in February with Percival the Pink Dragon?
I did not.
You'll have to go back and look at that newsletter.
I'll have to go back and check it.
So just so you know, I was deep in the depths of shingles and on some serious meds when I wrote Percival the Pink Dragon. Percival the Pink Dragon was very popular with the people who read the newsletter that month. So he will return. He will return. And I had a lot of fun with him. And I'm like, I sure hope this is working because I'm a little high. And that's not me. I'm not the type of person who does that kind of thing. But I was on pain meds. I was like, oh, isn't it? That's the thing. Every other month, even numbered months, you get either a sneak peek at what I'm working on, or you get a free short story. And sometimes that short story gets written right before I do the newsletter. Sometimes it's something that's been out there for a while. So
right.
Percival the Pink Dragon got written the day before the newsletter went.
So even numbered months, this should be, looking through the eyes of space and time. We should be in May when you guys are watching this. So that means next month
Yeah.
you're going to have one out. So
Mhm.
this is the great opportunity. This should be mid-month. So you got plenty of time to go to Barbara's website and sign up for that newsletter so you can get that story in June. I'm expecting
That's
you to be
right.
doing that now. Like the description should have all of this stuff below. Like
Mhm.
it'll all be in there. It's going to be a bunch of things in there. You can obviously like the video and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. But of course, you've already done that, right? I mean, you've
Of
gotten this
course.
far into, so surely you've already done that.
Yeah.
So beyond that, there should be like a link for the Giraffe Conservation uh, Foundation. So you should be considering a donation to have that. And you
Yeah.
know what? I'll even say this: if you aren't able or willing to donate, go to your social media and then just take that link and share it.
Share
How
it.
about that?
Yeah.
So I'm not going to tell you where to spend your money. That's your money. But I will say what is free is taking that link, doing a little right click, copy link, and then go to your social media and be like, hey, I saw this really cool podcast. And they said that this is something worth our attention. And so then other people can take it upon themselves to do whatever they will do. So if you are unwilling or unable to donate yourself, just share the link with someone close to you or to everyone close to you. And you know what? Even if you are able and you're willing, share the link anyway,
Share it
because
anyway. Yeah.
Jesus wept. Why else would you do it? And on top of that, you're obviously going to buy a copy of these books, right?
Of
I mean, of
course.
course you are, right? And I'll tell you this: if anything, they have absolutely gorgeous covers.
They do. They do. I know that's a small screen. You can't really see it there, but they really do.
They are gorgeous. And what's not up there is with Nature of the Beast.
Yeah, it's the best cover.
That's the absolutely beautiful cover. Like that would, the cover sells itself. The cover sells itself. But otherwise, you should absolutely be purchasing these books. And like I said, come to wherever Barbara is and come talk to her. Because one of the things that my greatest takeaway from all of our interactions is how sweet of a person you are and how much I
No,
love and enjoy talking to you. I am blessed and honored that you're willing to come on my show.
I'm
That
excited
actually
to
means a
do it.
lot to me. And seriously, I love, like last year again, you didn't get a table. So you weren't duty bound to your table to sell your books. So you were able to just kind of like sit back and enjoy
Uh-huh.
the being amongst our friends and our writing family, you
Right.
know.
And that's why I
And
did it last year, because I wanted the people I see at Imaginarium are a totally different population than all the other events I go to, because
yeah,
that's the furthest I go to one.
yeah.
You know,
Because we're dope, we're awesome.
and I love it. I go back. I like right now. I don't have a table for this coming year.
Yeah,
I'm coming, but I don't have a table. I'm on the waiting list. I'm
yeah.
okay if I don't get a table, to be honest with you, because I want to experience it with everybody else too. It's a great conference.
It really is. And I've told myself a couple of times that I'm going to take a year and not do panels and just go. And to be honest, like, don't get me wrong, the workshops are absolutely great and you should go. The panels are fantastic. The panelists are amazing. You should absolutely go. There's a lot of wonderful authors there who have their books and would be more than honored if you would at least peruse. If you just look through their books, they'd be appreciative. So I would definitely suggest you do those things. But I love to sit on the couch. And I talk about this couch so much. Not only is it comfy, but it's like a couch and some chairs. But there really is a wonderful community that's built around this particular just epicenter of the lobby.
Mm-hmm.
And I kind of want to just spend a weekend just chilling right there and just seeing who I talk to, seeing who I meet, learning about other different just genres and skill sets and things, and just because everyone there has a niche. And I love to just kind of surprise, I like to talk to people. That's why I have a podcast. That's why I do an interview show. I love to talk to people. You know what was suggested? Someone suggested, our good friend Ramillion, she suggested, it was in a conversation with her. I'm like, you know what I could do? I could just like do a setup right there in the middle of the lobby, like just do somewhere there in just the common area and just do a podcast from there.
Yeah.
I'm like, I might do that. I'm like, who else at Imaginarium could just get away with just being at a table and just podcast interviewing any and everybody? Who else could pull that off besides me?
A couple of people, but not many. Not many. But you could do it. You could easily do it. There have been some recorded there. They were in separate rooms.
Yeah.
You know,
but I'm talking about like literally
there in the lobby.
Like, hey, I have a microphone and the camera's running. Who wants to sit with me? And then just sit for 5 minutes and talk.
You should do it. You should. I've seen it done one time.
I'll do it better.
In Con Carolinas by somebody.
I
didn't get interviewed, so it obviously wasn't very
good. I'm already doing better. See, I got you on the interview.
There you go. So,
you know what? I might, because I wasn't trying to bring all this equipment with me, but I'm like, you know what? I can figure it out. I might figure out how to pull all that off. So if you're at Imaginarium and you see a random guy with a camera and a microphone, just come down and sit with me, because why not?
Why not?
I'm me. With that, I will probably go ahead and we will wrap this up. Believe it or not, we've been talking for almost 2 hours.
I know. I see the timer up there. I'm going, oh my gosh.
Yeah, I'm just like, oh, I didn't expect us to go that long. Mm-hmm. And I've had like 3 missed calls. It's fine. But before we go, more important than anything else, I want you to tell the people who you are, where they can find you, where can they get your books. Tell the people the things you want the people to know.
Okay. So I'm Barbara V. Evers, and you should be able to see, I always get this backwards. It's this like right up there above the draft head. There's my website, barbaravevers.com. And you can find out where I am, what events I've got going on. You can, once this goes live and I get the link from Dwan, I can put this on my media page so you can go back and find this there. It'll also go on my YouTube. But most of my social media is either Barbara V. Evers or Barbara V. Evers Author. I do have a Facebook page that I believe is Barbara V. Evers Author, but I'm on Facebook and Instagram the most. I do have YouTube. I do have a good many things that I put up there on YouTube that I'm part of that maybe I didn't record it, like something like this. I have TikTok, but I'm not on TikTok a lot. I seesaw back and forth on that one, but I do pop in there. I do have videos there, so you can go see what I've put out there for sure.
There you go.
And I have a newsletter that comes out once a month. When you first subscribe, you get a couple of newsletters, kind of just to introduce you to everything, and then it settles down. It's once a month after that. And you can subscribe from my website, but I also have a link tree. And the quickest way, I'll give you the link to the link tree, because everything's on that. And if you put that, that'll give everybody access to everything. Because I do have a universal page to get the books and everything.
You send me that in the email exchange, all the information, all the links and such. And then, well, by the time she's done that, it's already in the description. So you can go ahead and just look down and click the thing. Like by the time you're hearing us say this, it's already there. Time is an illusion, lunchtime doubly. So I realized I had one more question on this. I was going to ask you real quick. Top or bottom?
This is a peanut butter and jelly question we were joking about before.
Absolutely.
And the answer is neither, because I'm allergic to peanuts.
Son of a bitch.
That's why I told you to ask me.
I have nothing to throw in the air. Yeah, I did.
Yeah, he was like, did you put the peanut butter on the top piece of bread or the bottom piece of bread? Yeah.
It's a very serious question. It's a very serious question.
It's a very serious question. And I was a kid who grew up on peanut butter and jelly sandwiches.
That's so sad.
Yeah, but I can't eat peanuts.
That's wild. And I'm so saddened, because it's such a fundamental question, because if the peanut butter is on top, then you get the peanut butter in the roof of your mouth. So I had the jelly on top. and the peanut butter on the bottom. So like the jelly, the peanut butter doesn't stick to the roof of my mouth as much. It's a whole thing. The whole thing.
Thinking back, I think peanut butter was on top for me because I would do the peanut butter slice first, clean off the knife, do the jelly slice. Well, you can't flip the jelly slice over to put it on the peanut butter slice. So I'd flip the peanut butter slice over.
Right. Sometimes you can take the peanut butter slice, put it on top of the jelly, flip the sandwich.
Yeah, you flip the sandwich. Yeah. Did I? Maybe. Who knows?
Who knows?
Who knows?
It's a weird question you're only going to get asked here on the Moon Unscathed. Because
there you go. Because we're unscathed.
Because it's an absolute question about peanut butter and jelly.
That's right.
And with that,
thank you so much. I've had a great time.
This has been a blast. I'm so glad. I'm so glad. I'm so happy. So for Barbara Evers, I'm Dewan L. Hearn, more affectionately known as the Moon. And this, if I can find the button, has been the Moon Unscathed.